We're in the garage today talking to Jeff Gustafson about one of my favorite techniques, and one of his favorite techniques is a bladed jig, a vibrating jig, and we've got a couple here. One of them is the new jackhammer, the one that's kind of stolen the craze over the last few events and over the last year of fishing. For folks at home, is there a time and place for the older brands and models of chatterbaits? Because people are like, oh, I got these, when am I gonna throw the other ones? But you still like to use them both in conjunction.
Yeah, so obviously the original chatterbait is still a bestseller everywhere, and it's caught fish for many years, so it still works. Obviously, we got the jackhammer tied on here, and for the hardcore tournament guys, I mean, you got a primo hook on there, you've got a nice snap, you've got a hand-tied skirt, a really good bait keeper. All the components on it are
just
premium.
Improvements, yeah.
And I mean, when that thing hits the water, it's vibrating. I mean, there's no, like, you don't have to rip it to start it. I mean, it hits the water and it's like, you know. My favorite, vibrating jig for sure, but where I really like the jackhammer, it gets down a little bit deeper in the water column than some of the other baits. So what I mean by that, it's an easier bait to fish in that 5 to 10 foot stuff than some of the Arky style other heads. So the other one I use a lot is the Chatterbait Custom, and it's got the Arky style head, it's got a really stout, strong hook in it, and it's actually got a different connection. Instead of the cross-lock snap, it's got actually a wire connector on here, so you can use it with braid. If you like to fish with braided line, and sometimes in Florida we're forced to just because of the cover that we're fishing around, you can use that one with braid. And this one, it stays up a little bit higher. The blade's slightly different on it, but it stays up a little higher in the water column. So if I'm fishing that like 2 to 5 foot stuff, that's the one I use. And to be honest, around home, like when I'm smallmouth fishing, this has been my bait of the year the last couple of years. And I never used them for a long time. I didn't use them around home, and I've won a lot of money with it. Good bait. But as far as the trailers go, I pretty much always just use these razor shads. It's a bait that's designed to go on a chatterbait, and it's just a segmented little minnow bait, but it really has a lot of subtle tail. It's not subtle, but the whole thing doesn't move too much and kill the action of that blade, which is what we want. But that tail really moves and wiggles, and it's like I say, designed for fishing on these things, and it's a really good one.
So you said you'll only throw a braid on that custom one. So what's your fluorocarbon setup for maybe the jackhammer or other chatterbait style?
Well, I'll use this one on fluorocarbon too. 90% of the time, I'm using 20-pound fluoro when I'm throwing one of these chatterbaits. But in Florida,
that's
at Okeechobee, some of these places, if you're around really heavy, grass, you want to have the braid just so that you can, if you hook a big fish, you can slice the grass. Fluorocarbon is not going to do that as well.
Might ball up on it.
Yeah, and that's where you want this one, because you can muscle the fish a little bit more. With the jackhammer, with that snap, if you're using 50-pound braid and a flipping stick, you risk opening that snap up. And the snap is part of what gives it such a good action. So, just in that situation, the custom one is better. But generally, I'm using a, 20-pound fluoro. I like a 7.6. This is actually a 7.7 Shimano X-Pride rod. I pretty much throw them on a 7-to-1 gear ratio. A lot of guys like slower retrieve reel, but I just, I use a 7-to-1 for just about everything. So I'm just, you get a feel for what the bait's doing in the water column, and I just, do it like that. A
7.6 or 7.7 rod. A lot of guys throw a 7.2, 7.3, 7.4. People might think, oh, it's only 2 more inches of a rod. What's the big difference? What is that? Why do you like that more? Does it load differently than a shorter rod
Just
would?
A little bit more load, a little bit more give on when you can drop it to them a little bit and just let the fish eat the bait, just that extra split second, I think. I like the longer rod simply to cast a little bit farther as well. But mostly just for the, the load up on the hook set and that sort of thing.
Well, there you go. If you have a bunch of old school chatterbaits in your box, you don't have to throw them away now that you have something that's new and improved, maybe some upgrades on your bait.
They'll still work.
They'll still work just as good, and find some different times where they do excel. Like Jeff Gustafson said, throwing braid, tries out the custom one over the brand new jackhammer.